this is an important message that we want to carry to South Africans, that you will be receiving 3 ballots, and it is important that there is only 1 mark on each ballot.
The IEC says it's all systems go for the national and provincial elections that will be held in less than 20 days. The Commission briefed the media on its readiness for these elections that are being touted as the most important since 1994.
This province, we are definitely going to win with over 90%, this province alone. And it is going to then now assist us to at least get almost 53 to 58% national.
Also, the ANC says it's confident it will obtain 90% of the votes in the Mpumalanga province and more than 50% nationally in the upcoming elections. These were the sentiments of the ANC's second Deputy Secretary General, Marupin Ramakgopa, who was campaigning in Hendrina. This was in Mpumalanga.
The government must convert the country into a construction site if you want to create.
EFF leader Julius Malema is on a 2-day campaign trail in the Eastern Cape. He met with Abatembu King Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo before addressing a rally at the Gqeberha College of Education outside Mthatha.
So South Africa stands on the cusp of a transformative shift in its electoral dynamics. This allows independent candidates to run for national and provincial elections, and it also marks a pivotal role in the country's democratic journey. And will this shift bring about change that South Africans have been yearning for? And should we even be considering independent candidates? And those are some of the questions we will be asking on today's show. And most importantly, what are their manifestos and ideologies that they bring about to the table? Those are the questions we will be addressing on today's show. Hello, Bushle.
Hello, Doliosi. How are you doing?
Well, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. It is Elections 360 right here on SABC1, an SABC Elections focused show where we continue to crisscross South Africa, giving you the mic to share your stories every Monday to Thursday from 5 to 5:30 on SABC1, Mzansi for sure, SABC News, Channel 404, DTT, including all our digital platforms. Remember that you too can be part of the show by calling us on 011-714-0726 or 0727 or 0728, or hit us up on social media on our X handle is at SABC Izindaba and Facebook is SABC Izindaba. Our hashtag is #Elections360Daily.
So do keep those conversations going. And of course, today we started our broadcast a bit early. And of course, we are on the SABC News Channel 404 as well as on DTT, SABC Lehigh. It's great to have you today. And thank you so much for choosing us today. So here's where we start. For the first time, independent candidates are allowed to compete for seats in the National Assembly and in provincial legislatures. Now, in total, the Election Commission cleared 14,889 candidates who will contest 887 seats in the forthcoming elections. Now, in a landmark ruling by the Constitutional Court back in 2020, South Africa was directed to amend its Electoral Act. Now, previously, the Act mandated that only political parties could nominate candidates for national and provincial elections, effectively barring individuals from running as independents. This, of course, decision underscores a commitment to enhancing democratic inclusivity and accountability in governance. We have an amazing show and guests for you this evening, that's for sure. And first of all, let's just hear what you've had to say about our conversation this evening.
Monna error A. Mushori jure uzenga ramikato ya rinduzi jamikato. Mushori jugwa zarasaga ene. Akizange vote mo pleni baka. Ngachoma gena. Gawo batho ba jure ndo ba jure ba vote. Arabadzebe.
Voto dimisa ka bona bana nne bona nga ba nga zwikona se zwiboyi mahoro nga wona ane a tshi khou balo disa change muthu independently maybe anga zwikona.
Une uya nga nne ndazipfesesa ngori hezwi vhathu vha tshikhetha vha tshi khou khetha mahoro ane vhone vhane vha takalela ende uya nga nne ha vhathu vhane vha tshi khou vha khetha zwi a thusa uri hezwi vha tshi khou khetha vha vha tshi khou khetha zwithu zwine vha zwi takalela vhunzhi ha zwithu zwine ra vha ri khou zwi khetha zwi a fhedza zwo bvelela
ta kota ku va fikelela ene a ni nge khandziyini kumbexana ku na foyina na yena vulavula na vona ku hi xota 1 2 3 a ku lungi 1 2 3
So let's discuss this further, and we welcome independent candidates for these upcoming general elections. Now, Anele Mda, who has been a social gender activist for about 18 years and was one of the country's youngest MPs back in 2009, as well as Blessing Ramoba, who is an independent candidate. Welcome to you both. It's great to have you on the program today.
Thank you, Mkolisi, and greetings to the viewers at home.
Yeah, so Anele, let's start with you perhaps. You were once an ANC MP. What informed your shift, and why did you leave the party to start your own thing and become an independent candidate?
I was never an ANC MP. I was an MP, and I was under the political party called COPE that I was one of the founding members of. I will not use this time and dwell on the reasons why I left the ANC. I would rather want to use this opportunity to explain why it is a groundbreaking experiment that we are experiencing in the maturing of the democracy of our country, that we in these elections are seeing the groundbreaking and history-making change makers that are coming into play, who are coming in the form of independent candidates, who are not coming here in the space as stepchildren of the country of South Africa, but rather as people who are constitutionally eligible and who carry the privilege that is carried by every single citizen to be players in the rebuilding of our country, especially at the backdrop of the 30 years of democracy that we have just celebrated. But over and above that, my life as an activist and my leadership acumen as a person in South Africa has always been one that is shaped and characterized by being a grassroots leader who is led by the needs of the people, but also who carries the aspirations of the people on her shoulders.
And of course, I beg your pardon on that, COPE, of course. And let's talk about what is it that you feel you'll be doing differently at this point in time, because the voice on the street is that people want alternatives that will be speaking to their hopes, dreams and aspirations. Are you that alternative?
I'm not even the alternative. I'm part and parcel of a working men and women of South Africa who have observed and taken time to reflect on the state of our country, how broken the country is, how despair and how despondent the people of our country are, how much hope has been lost, but also I think I carry myself with the hope that lives in the people of South Africa that have yet to see the democracy being really a tool that has worked for them and that has shifted the lives of the people of South Africa. And when people of South Africa are calling for change, they are calling for change in the meaningful sense, in the sense that says, let democracy be crystallized and it must live and be able to respond to daily challenges of the people in the most simplest of ways. People are not looking for sophisticated overview and a helicopter view kind of solutions. They're looking at solutions that democracy can produce, a solution that can make a person who lives in abject poverty wakes up with hope and be able to put themselves out there and seize opportunities. And I'm saying South Africa is alive with possibilities, but it requires leaders that are very much grounded. It requires leaders that live amongst the people, who are not accountable and whose allegiance is to a political party, but rather to the people of South Africa.
And Mr. Ramoba, what are you bringing to the table? Let's hear from you.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me, and greetings to you and to your viewers. And I'll be contesting in the province of Limpopo and Gauteng, and I'm contesting for parliament seat. And I have, forwarded my manifesto to South Africans out there. My priority in terms of policies is jobs. By the way, I'm not new to the South African politics, but I've been an activist in the mining sector. I'm the founder of the Mining Forum of South Africa, a organization which advocates for mining people in the communities where mines are operating. I'm an advocate for implementation of the Mining Charter and the Mineral Petroleum Resource Development Act, which is the MPRDA. I've been engaging with the Department of Minerals in terms of changing the industry and also proposing the policies. So for the past 10 years as the president of the Mining Forum of South Africa, that has not been happening. And I saw it, necessary that I stand up as a concerned citizen of this country. But more importantly, I engage a lot with young people who are unemployed. I think that the current government of the ANC has failed our people. They do not have a plan to create jobs. So my manifesto speaks about prioritizing the issue of employment in the country, because I can tell you we have got a crisis, but the government does not want to admit it. I can tell you this, about 18 million of South Africans out of 62 million people are depending on social grants. That is not a healthy society. People want jobs, and what I'm coming forward with is policies that which are going to create employment. I can tell you that we've got minerals in this country, and we do not beneficiate our minerals here in the country. And one of the proposals that which we have been talking to the DMR is about 50% of our minerals being beneficiated here in the country, so that we are able to add value to our mining sector.
Okay, and I'm going to want us to actually, I'm going to ask us to touch on that a bit later on in the program, but we'll do it as we progress with our conversation. I'm also keen on finding out that what do these independent candidates, with the new kids on the block, if you may, bring to the table, and what other, suggestions and solutions that you are bringing for the potential electorate. And we will be continuing with this conversation when we come back. Ubuhle will come back with other independent candidates right here on Elections 360 Daily. Stay with us.
This is the Williams family. A typical morning about who gets to drive the Sunday car on a Thursday.
And Jay?
Jay, a colloquial term meaning you've got to know how the Williams take advantage of Momentum Insure's safety returns. It's all in the Momentum app. For instance, you can earn points for safe driving. Plus, you could get up to 30% cash back on your premiums even if you claim.
So can I drive?
No, I'll drive. It's my points.
For us, it all begins with the pulse of our newsroom. Meticulous preparation is our mantra as we craft a midday experience that's a must-watch for both business leaders and leaders of the home.
We've made it our business to step into each day to bring you on point. The world of money is our business.
Factual, relevant, precise.
On point every weekday at 12 p.m.
Welcome back. You are still watching Elections 360 Daily right here on SABC 1, Mzansi for sure, and Channel 404. Right now we will be crossing over to Azaria Khoza, who is going to be speaking to people on the ground. Do people understand the role of independent candidates and their role in this year's elections? Do people, what are they expecting to bring to the table for people in South Africa? Azaria?
Good evening, Buhle. Thank you so much. Mbukeli uyazi ukuthi lapha ekhaya uvo lwakho kanye nemibono yakho ave ibalulekile. Ingakho right now we are out here in the streets of Johannesburg to find out from young people ukuthi bona what do they think about the matter at hand. But let me bring you in the conversation. I just want you to tell me, do you understand the role of independent candidates in Pagatini and to put our political fear as well?
Yes, I got the independent role of the Batoko Pagatini as from Rodiport.
Yeah.
As an independent role in the community, I community because I know their struggle and Lebone they easy to communicate something like that. Unlike for votela political party. We all know them. Badula ko kai kai North Cliff was somewhere. Har khono go bala then communicate le bona re balele mathata rona.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful. Sir, let me also just bring you in the conversation. You know, Sir just said right now that he's bringing this notion that it's better to vote for an independent candidate because they're much more closer to the community. Do you agree?
Yes, that's something that I agree about. So basically, the fact that they're separating themselves away from the big political parties enables them to reach out to the various communities, do the best that they can for their people. But we have to also keep in mind that politicians are politicians. They'll always be promising until they get that seat in office. That's when they'll completely forget about us. So to just give an example, we had Musi Maiman in the DA, right? But he had to move away from that to form his own independent political party because he argued that him being in the DA prevented him from doing the good that he wants to do because the DA has its own policies that he himself has to follow.
All right, so there are sort of restrictions, you would say. All right, so just to bring you in, sir, as well into the conversation, what sort of qualities do you think an independent candidate must possess in order for you to give them that tick and say this one is going to be a great leader?
Firstly, I think they should have the people in mind, firstly and foremost, because at the end of the day, what are you there to do? You're there to be a public servant. You're there to provide for the people. And I feel like there's been a lack of that in the country for a while now. That's why we're facing all the problems we're facing today. Unemployment is going up. Literacy rates are going illiteracy rates are going up. And things are just getting worse overall unless something is done.
Yeah. All right, beautiful. All right, Buhle now imxolisi lapha studio. There you have it. Leyo imibono yababukeli bethu khona la emigwaqeni yaseJohannesburg. For now, back to studio.
Those are the views of people in the streets of Gauteng province. Let's welcome Love Mondo, who is also an independent candidate. Welcome, Mr. Ndo, to Elections 360 Daily.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Now, what lessons and expertise are you bringing to the table?
Look, there is a number of things, I think the first thing I should make it clear, and I'm not coming here saying to people, oh, you should vote for me. No, but I'm coming here saying, you should consider voting for me, because at the end of the day, who you vote for or what party you vote for is your prerogative, and it's also your democratic right. Look, after 30 years of a failed ANC government, it's clear that our country is heading towards the wrong direction. The dream of 94 is no more, and the rainbow has faded. Now, we live in a land divided, a land once again split by a minority of people only looking after themselves. We are once again faced by the kind of division we fought so hard to overcome. We live in a South Africa stuck in the grip of corrupt politicians and broken, failing infrastructure. A South Africa run by a party that does not stand by and commit to election pronouncements and proclamations. And the level of leadership we have is below par. Now, if I'm coming here saying, if you are still not sure who to vote for on 29 May 2024, then ask yourself these two questions. Are you better off than you were 30 years ago? Is your future and that of your children and loved ones more secure than it was 30 years ago? If not, then stop blindly following those with no vision and come with a visionary wanting to lead South Africa, a visionary wanting a brighter future for all, a visionary who wants to keep Mandela's dream alive. To honor the dream he sacrificed his life for, the dream that the rest of the world believed in. A visionary who stands for a better South Africa for all, a South Africa where the future of our children is guaranteed. A visionary who stands to wage a war against crime and corruption. A visionary who stands to ensure that you have jobs, better housing, clean energy, clean water, free and better education, and a better healthcare system. Then vote Love Mondo.
Now, how would you say your international experience positions you in the political game?
Look, in many ways, I'm lucky that, I got the opportunity, to be educated, in a first world country, I got 7 university degrees, and those degrees, include law, politics, and governance. I'm more educated than all the presidents this country has ever had, and most probably more educated than your so-called current leaders and potential leaders. So I've been a student of a first world country and would like to apply my skills and learning to South Africa. What Australia has taught me is how to build and maintain infrastructures, how to care for the elderly, the disabled, and the have-nots, how to put in place effective youth employment programs, how to provide job security for the people. It has taught me to epitomize the value of education and how to prepare our future leaders to lead this country. It's taught me how to build a healthy and thriving economy. It's equipped me with cross-sectional tools to run a better South Africa, a South Africa where the future of your children and my children are is guaranteed.
Mr. Ndo, speaking about a better South Africa has issues with electricity, crime, unemployment, water. What are your strategies on fixing these problems?
Look, I'm one of those people that it actually concerns me and it worries me that a lot of these parties and so-called candidates they come up, they always say they're going to fix this, they're going to fix some of the things we can actually fix. You don't even have to be in parliament to fix issues. For example, crime is a different issue. You need to have more power to fix that. But issues like jobs, you say you're going to create jobs for people. For example, the ANC is talking about creating over 2 million jobs. The DA saying the same thing, the EFF saying thing. So what has changed in the last 30 years, that will allow the ANC now to create jobs? We've got more than 8 million people that are employed, just going into these elections. The DA or the EFF, you're saying you're gonna, create all these jobs opportunities. Why haven't you done this all these years? Look, I just came into this game. I'm new in the game, but I'm already on the ground doing things. I've already put together, a Lovemore scholarship, which will allow me to send South Africans to Australia, to learn how to build, modular homes. And then they'll come back to South Africa and teach the local people how to build, these modular homes. So it's creating, I'm solving two issues at once. I'm creating job opportunities for people, and I'm also, dealing with the housing crisis we're facing. Modular homes are way better, than the shacks, our people are living in now. They're affordable, sustainable, and they're quick to build. So,
Mr. Ndo, right there, I would just like to find out, how is your campaign being funded, and did you publicly declare?
Look, I don't have, at this stage, I don't have to publicly, declare, but I'm happy to declare. I've been funding my own campaign. Every cent I've spent so far has come out of my pocket, and if a time comes where I get funding, I'll be more than happy to declare.
All right, now based on their manifestos and track records where applicable, which party or parties are you most likely to work with?
Look, at this stage, I can tell you there are three parties that I won't work with. That's the ANC at the top of the list because it's a failed party, it's a faction, it has 30 years, to fix things, but all it's done is just, continue to destroy our country. You got the DA. The DA, is just as good as, it's good only to be, it's just as good as an opposition party because it has 30 years, it's been an opposition party forever. And in all those years, it hasn't done anything, to improve anything. And the other thing, that reminds me, another recent DA stand, which I see, as a racist stand, is their current, ad, the desecration of our flag, in their new ad. I just lost the little respect I had for the party when I saw that. I say there are other ways to make a political point without, disrespecting our flag. I do not agree with showing something that represents core values, history, and memories associated with our nation. Now, I didn't see them ban the apartheid flag and represented hatred and racial discrimination. But now they ban the thing that represents unity in this country. It tells you what the DA is for, division.
Thank you so much, Love Mondo, an independent candidate currently in Australia. Let us take a short break. Before that, actually, let me quickly cross over to Mxolisi with our Facebook comments on the issue of independent candidates.
So thank you very much, Buhle. We did ask for your engagement on all of our social media platforms. Let's just quickly check in with Facebook and find out what you have had to say there. We start with Bongani Mdlalose. Ukabili eliqembu noma abazimele bona kunini bacela amathuba kanjani abalidingayo and benza ubani mabethola lawo mathuba. Ngifisa kwangathi abantu bangakubona lokho ngoba akukho okuya phambili ngempela. Just echoing sentiments of saying that he just feels like these candidates won't be bringing anything different to the table. Tewayo says ontaba kayikhonjwa libhubhulele lizwe, and of course akuke kunikwe abanye ithuba bakwethu nomdlali mase engasadlali kahle egroundini uyakhishwa kufake osa fresh nalana ke nakwipolitiki kumele kwenziwe njalo, talking about how people should be getting other alternatives and using that analogy of saying that even in sports perhaps there's usually substitutes there when one player is no longer performing. And of course Charlie says kwamaphumulo angiboni kungaba yinto ezosiza wonke umuntu ukuthatha umuntu ozimele ngoba akanawo umgogodla oqinile oshoyo ukuthi ke izwe sonke sizokwazi ukusiza kanjani nokuthi ke kuyoba ngubani oqotshiwe bakhe of course bakhe umzansi, and this applies for yonke indawo. Just basically echoing sentiments of saying that this one does not really have confidence in independent candidates. MD Magwaza says akekho onokuthenjwa ngoba abazivezi ithembiso zabo, speaking about those promises that are usually made there and saying that as a voter they feel like some of those promises are not really followed through. Continue with the conversation with Mr. Ndo. Mr. Ndo, I first of all just need to get your quick reflections on some of our interaction here on our social media platforms. People feel that you're not really bringing anything new to the table, and why do you not perhaps collaborate with other bigger parties? What would your reaction to that be?
Okay, first thing, I should just mention, I was introduced as, coming from Australia. I'm currently in South Africa. Let's just get that right. Now, the role of an independent candidate, an independent candidate speaks and votes, on behalf of the people he or she represents, like all members of parliament do. He or she does this, by debating, proposing and voting on bills, the proposed laws and amendments, by giving speeches in parliament, by working on committees that, look into important issues, by scrutinizing the work of the government of the day, judging the activities, policies, and legislation of the government, deciding matters of national interest, while also representing, interests of the people in one's province, by also acting as a check on the power of the government. So, basically, what I'm saying here is...
Love more Ndo, I have to thank you so much for your time right here on the program, and he is an independent candidate. We continue with all the conversations right here on the program when we come back. Do stay with us. So welcome back. You're still watching Elections 360 daily right here on SABC 1 as well as the SABC News Channel 44. So today on the program we are talking independent candidates, and joining the conversations a bit later on will be Sising Ramatswabod, who's an independent candidate who's contesting for a seat in the Free State. But speaking of the Free State, let's take you now to our reporter, Refilo Mehwe, who's in Bloemfontein for us. Refilo, thank you so much for your time. So take us through some of the latest conversations to come out of there. On the program today, we're talking about independent candidates. Talk to us about some of the conversations making the rounds there.
Hi, Mkolisi. Yeah, independent candidates, as we know in the Free State, and as you have mentioned that we have one independent candidate, Ramotswa Budi Sising, also known as JJ from Sasolburg, who will be contesting in these upcoming general elections here in the Free State. He's the only one, in fact, who will be contesting amongst 26 political parties here in the province. But with me, in terms of the conversation that you mentioned, is one of the young voters here, just to tell us more about what they think in terms of, their stance with independent candidates. And her name is Mbali Kambaba Nsimbimbi. Mbali, unfortunately, sorry for not mentioning your name properly, but thank you for joining us. And let's touch on independent candidates. What are your thoughts, and do you think that they'll be able to steer, issues that are happening and solve them within the country?
Thank you for your question. Well, my take on independent candidates is that independent candidates are such a great reflection on the progression of our democracy. Firstly, independent candidates can shine a light, firstly, on the minority issues that the government cannot see first perspective, because our government caters for the majority issues. So independent candidates are going to enable our government to see the minority issues that less fortunate communities suffer from and attend to them. So I think it's a most greatly needed development of our democracy, and it's going to be great to see them actually go out there and ensure that such issues are met. Thank you.
And their ideologies, do you have any idea, or do you think maybe perhaps they'll also make a difference in terms of what they say they'll be able to provide and offer for the country?
Definitely. I think if you are one being and you stand for a specific ideology, it makes it easier for you to strive to ensure that it's achieved, because you don't have to cater to a vast majority of people. You're there to ensure that one thing is met, and then to ensure that we actually get to see the progression of all the issues that we face in small communities as compared to the large extent of issues that are not being met by the government due to the large demand of it.
Thank you so much, Mbali Kababa Nsimbini. Yes, that's how one's supposed to be pronouncing it, for her input in terms of her thoughts when it comes to independent candidates. She believes that at least they can bring a fresh perspective, if one can summarize her response. Mkolisi?
Refilo, thank you so much for bringing us that conversation there. And of course, I know you spoke about Sising Ramotswa Budi. Tell you what, we have him here in studio to further expand on some of his grand plans. It's great to have you on the program at this hour. So let's talk about why are you going at this, and why are you contesting as an independent candidate, and as an independent candidate rather, and what informs your ideologies?
I think more than anything is seeing the collapse of the province as a whole, the rise of unemployment in the Free State, the collapse of public health, the collapse of local government, the influx of illegal immigrants in our townships, the lack of support for small businesses. So those are the things that made me want to stand up and actually decide, you know what, enough is enough now. We need to bring change to this province. Because some of these issues that we're raising are everyday issues. It's issues that every single person in the Free State goes through. I mean, something as nonsensical as not having water. I mean, Free State has one of the biggest water problems in the country. You go to Castell, you go to Bethlehem, you go to Kwakwa, you go to Zamdela, you go to Parys. It's for someone that doesn't live in the province, they might not really understand it, but it's as bad as saying opening a tap and there's no water coming out. It's that bad. And you look at the way our government has tried to remedy the situation, where you have water tanks going around the different townships. And you ask yourself, it's inhuman. You find that because a water tank comes in your neighborhood, for example, right? It comes in your neighborhood, you can't take as much water as you need, for example. You'll maybe use a 25-liter bottle, a bucket, right? You take that, but it's not enough to bath, to eat, to do your washing, to clean the house, to do everything, right? So you find sometimes that after you take that little, later during the day, you have to go buy water. But with the high rate of unemployment, you find people, they have to choose between buying water and buying food. No sane government should put people in such a position. And another thing is that you need to look at how this water issue is engineered. Who owns these water tanks? It's a big question. For example, in Kwakwa alone, right? The government has spent 200 million on water tanks alone. You tell me, 200 million can build enough potholes? 200 million can build water treatment plants, but no, they want to prolong it. More and more comrades are buying water tanks. They keep invoicing municipalities, so the rot is not going to stop.
Yeah, and yes, you've detailed all the problems. You've detailed and identified the gaps.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the practical how, and how do you plan about bringing about change to the communities, because that's where it matters the most.
Yeah. Look, we have to bring accountability in the province. We have to put in systems that are there to ensure that there's accountability, so that there's evaluation, there's accountability, and you enhance service delivery as a whole. So you almost need some sort of a reform in terms of local government, in terms of reform in terms of local government. Because when you read the Auditor General's report, right, for example, on the corruption around municipalities, where there's probably over 50 billion gone through maladministration. The Auditor General speaks about maladministration, which means the direct translation is that it's human beings in the system that are doing what they're not supposed to be doing. You have officials in municipalities that don't qualify for positions that they are in. You know, so you have to fix those things. So obviously those guys were deployed through cadre deployment. So you have to bring a reform, some sort of a reform, and enhance organs of state like the SIUs, you know, to ensure that they bring accountability. Because it boils down to that. We can spend the whole day pointing out problems, but what are your solutions? So that's what we need to do. We have to bring systems. We have to strengthen the HR across all departments in the province, and enhance skills of people that are already there, because there's clearly a skills gap. I'll make you an example. Right now, the Free State government is paying, and these are concluded cases, right? They're paying 5 billion rand in civil claims in hospitals. These are cases of people that were injured at hospitals, that have lost their lives, where you find that the staff that's there at government hospitals do not have the capacity to deal with the injuries they come across. It's nonsensical. So you need that reform. You need to ensure that you also enhance the workforce that's already there, additional training for staff, so that they're equipped to deal with issues that they come across every single day.
Let's talk about some of the challenges you have encountered as an independent candidate, just hitting the ground running.
The biggest one being intimidation from the ruling party, you know, but funding, resources, those are the challenges that you come across. But thanks to platforms like the SABC, you know, you'll say the FMs, the SABC News, the SABC ones, you know, it's made it easier. It's helped us that people receive our message. So when we do our door-to-doors, we are no longer strangers. You know, people like, hey, I saw you on TV, or I heard you on radio. It makes it easier for us to communicate our issues, and which has really been, it's gone a long way for us. So I think the biggest hurdles just remain with resources for us to be able to reach as many people as possible. But outside that, our message is really reaching the people it's meant to reach.
Sising Ramatsobore is an independent candidate. Thank you so much for your time and navigating this conversation with us on the program today. We're back with you straight after this. You're still tuned into Elections 360 Daily. Stay with us.
Welcome back. There are no independent candidates contesting in the Eastern Cape, and none will feature on the regional or provincial ballots. But now that the door is firmly open for independent participation in elections, voters in the Eastern Cape are taking note and might be very well influence their choices in future elections. Lubabalo Dada, our reporter in East London, is standing by with some first-time voters on the issue. Good afternoon, Lubabalo.
Good afternoon to you and the viewers at home.
Lubabalo, are you with young people that are first-time voters, and what is their take on independent candidates?
Well, indeed, I'm with a group of students here. Some of them will be voting for the first time, and they are very excited to be taking part in this milestone. They're saying that it is very important for them to have the mark and have the say on what is happening politically. But I'll be talking to the first-time voter to tell us about her experience and how does she feel about having independent candidates.
Okay, my name is Novyambola. I'm a student here at the University of Fort Hare. I'll be voting actually for the second time. in these upcoming elections. I'm very much excited. I'm ready to make my mark on the voting day. What I feel about independent candidates, I really do not trust independent candidates because the ideologies or whatever they are bringing to the table is what other political parties are already bringing to the table. I feel as if they have a certain hidden agenda that they want to achieve, and then cannot represent the views of all South Africans in just their independency.
All right, thank you very much for your views. Now, let me introduce another young person. Definitely sure that he's going to be voting for the first time. Are you registered to vote, and what does it mean for you to partake in these elections?
First of all, I'm Mr. Luca Doze, a first-time voter, and I'm a student at the University of Fort Hare. As it is my first time to vote, I'm very much excited to vote because I'll be making my mark to the entire country, and I will be registering my right to vote as interest in the Constitution of South Africa. Coming to the topic of today about the independent candidates, I beg to differ with my colleague there. I think independent candidates deserve a chance to be given to the country, because as much as the time has lapsed to have been governed by a party for 30 years now, majority of things have not occurred. There's lack of service providement in the country. So I think by having an independent candidate, there will be a change, because we can trust them, and there will be a policy research and policy change in the state, because as an independent candidate, they have the outright to make decisions, because as a president of a particular political organization, even if he or she has a different view to the political organization, but that view will not be implemented because of the battles inside the organization. But as an independent candidate, you have that responsibility and that right to change the laws. That's why I think it's wise to have independent candidates in this time.
Okay, please hand over the mic to the other person. What is your view when it comes to having independent candidates for these 2024 elections?
My name is Mamufitli Kutkel Mkwashu, and I think that independent candidates should be given a chance, because when making decisions, they do not need to consult, and the decisions doesn't need a specific quorum or requirement. So I think they will make a big difference in our democracy.
Well, thank you very much. That was the views of the students here. Some expressing happiness with the fact that there are so many political parties that will be taking part, and also independent candidates that will be taking part in the national and provincial election, saying that it gives them an opportunity to have a wide variety of options on who to vote for, and they are very excited, looking forward to the elections.
Thank you so much, Lubabalo. We are still exploring independent candidates with Anele Mda, who has been a social gender activist for 18 years and was one of the country's youngest MPs in 2009. Blessings Ramoba, the founder and president of the Mining Forum of South Africa, whose main aim is to promote sound public policies in the mining industry. Now I'm going to start with you, Anele. You have just heard from the viewers. What are your thoughts? Will independence make a difference?
I think I appreciate the views that were expressed by the viewers on the segment there, where they seem to have the grasp of the importance of having these undiluted, uncaptured, and independent voices. That will be a grassroots representation of the people of South Africa who have experienced the gap between them and government being so huge, because the reality, Buhle, is that there is absolutely no form of communication that exists between government and the people. The communication that you have, it only comes from government, and it cascades down through party political deployees, and those are not South Africans. No party is voted for by its members to be in government. The people of South Africa have remained in the peripheral margins and have not had the voice that directly speaks to their issues. And I think the views that are expressed by these viewers that are speaking in this segment, they express the true maturity of our democracy as we want it. And on the question that says, do we think the independent candidates will make the difference? I think we must stop the continuous poisonous gaslighting of the value that we bring as the people of South Africa, because we are not supposed to be measured by the fact that we are individuals. We are supposed to be measured by the work that we individually have done over the years on our names. What is the reference of our work on the ground that makes us to have been able to amass all the work that needed to be done in order for us to be here today? And that, I think, it speaks for itself, and it's time that we recognize that.
Blessings, will independent candidates make a difference?
Correct. We are going to make a difference. I can tell you this. We engage with communities on the ground. It's not difficult to reach me. I think that what differentiates us as independent candidates and political parties is that we don't need to consult to take a decision. We consult the people on the ground. We consult South Africans, we consult communities, and everyone who has got their issues, they can bring them to us directly. You don't need even to make an appointment for that. You just bring the issues here and then we deal with them. But in fact, that question, I think that is relevant, but I answered it because of, we have to answer these questions. South Africans, we are South Africans, and we've got a challenge, we've got problems. If I don't stand up, who must stand up then? I mean, our future generations are dependent on us in terms of the decisions that which we take, that which are going to affect them in the future. And that's why we are standing here.
Yes. Speaking about being a South Africans, give us a glimpse into the South Africa that you are working towards.
Look, I'm working towards South Africa that people have got jobs, right? And we reduce the number of people who are dependent on grants. I can tell you today, graduates leave university, they sit for 10 to 15 years without any employment. Many South Africans are living in poverty. And I can tell you that what they need is, for example, also, is the issue of basics delivery. We've got, I travel the country, I go to Limpopo and Gauteng, where I'm going to appear on the ballot. I can tell you we still have got people who do not have water. Where I come from in my village, people do not have water. And, that is a basic need, I can tell you. Then I cannot ignore even the people where I come from, they suffer. Not only that, you travel the entire province of Limpopo, people do not have water, but we've got politicians whom we vote every 5 years, they go to parliament, but they are even failing to provide a simple thing, a basic need. But more importantly, many South Africans, I'm talking about those who leave universities, those who leave matric, they are idling and they are sitting at home. They do not have a means of living. The only thing that they have, is these grants, which I think is a bribe to them. South Africans want jobs. South Africans want service delivery. The roads are damaged. There's no any service delivery in South Africa. I mean, many communities are suffering. We are the voice, and we want to champion that.
Yes. Anele, what are your tangible plans to take South Africa forward? What is the South Africa that you are working towards?
I aspire to a South Africa where people living with disabilities are recognized as you people and citizens of this country who are deserving of the respect, the dignity, and all the privileges that are accorded to every single South African. I aspire for those people who live with disabilities to have access like me and you, where when you are speaking about opportunities, both in business and education, they are also accorded the same level of equitability and access that they must be given in order for them to be able to advance. I also aspire to a future where young people have not been subjected to the tokenism that happens when you are talking about internships, where you will say when a young person is looking for a job, you need them to have 2 years of work experience. Yet when you give them internship, you will give them internship of a year. Yeah. That means you are not even linking the issue of internships with an intention to ensure that you deal with the issue of unemployment in South Africa. I am also yearning for a South Africa and envision a South Africa where every single business in this country will be able to do business with our government without depending on a political mileage of connection. That is why I strongly believe that we need to do away with the tender system that has created a selected elite of a few politically connected people in order to widen and level the ground to ensure that more players are brought into the mainstream.
30 seconds. What is the last message that you would like to leave South Africans with tonight?
On the 29th of May, we stand on a threshold position as South Africans where we must go and take decisions that must decide the fate of this country for the next 30 years. I stand as an independent candidate in the province of Gauteng, and I will be going to serve South Africa in national parliament. And I'm saying, bring me on board as a game changer. Go and vote for Anne Lemta on the orange ballot.
And the last word, the 30 seconds.
Voting for blessings, Ramova, you are voting for employment opportunities. You are voting for secure borders, meaning that all illegals must be deported. You are voting for funding for small businesses and big businesses to be able to get funding when they go to the bank. There should be that opportunity for business to be able to get funding. Even an old mama who's sitting on the street selling, there must be opportunity for them to be funded so that we are able to create jobs in our communities.
All right, that was Anne Lemta and Blessings Ramoba right here on Elections 360 Daily. We have now reached the end of our show. This is the journey towards the 29th of May, where we will be, Elections Day in police.
Yeah, and a big thank you to all of our reporters as well on the ground, watching all of the conversations as well as developments for us. And tomorrow we're looking at special votes, so that's also another one to look forward to. From myself, from Olisi Masango.
And myself, Buhle Keleba Kamnandi.
Good night.